Welcome to the Build Business Acumen podcast, where we deliver practical knowledge and powerful guidance. Here is your futuristic host, Nathaniel Schooler.
Right, so today I'm joined by Stephen Gillen, and he is the CEO and executive producer of Shooting Stars Events. Recently, he was nominated by the UK's Peace Ambassador for the 2020 Sunak International Peace Prize. So we're going to talk about business etiquette, which I think is a really interesting topic. And this is a tricky subject.
Very much so.
Because we're global now, right? So just as an example, my dad, when he used to run a winery, he had the Japanese come around. So because we used to, this might sound funny, but we used to sell rose petal wine in Japan, okay, to Mitsukoshi, which was like the top department store chain in Japan, yeah? So these guys from Mitsukoshi came to England, and they came to the winery, like I think there are eight or nine of these guys, yeah, or whatever, and each one of them bowed to my dad and handed him a business card, right? And my dad's like, what am I going to do? How, if I do this wrong, yeah, then this business card, right, could be the death of this customer, yeah? Okay, so they've all given him a business card. So what he did is he got a diary, and he got each business card, and he literally just put it right there in this diary, and he looked at the card, he looked at the person, and he nodded, and I think he said something in Japanese, and he nodded and sort of bowed, and then he put the card in there, and then he folded that page over in his diary, and then he took the next one, yeah, and he didn't put that away in his pocket, you see, because if he'd have taken that card and put that in his pocket, it would have been an insult to the Japanese, right? Yeah. So that's just one example of business etiquette, right?
Definitely. This is
it's a big topic.
This is a massive topic. And of course, you know, the do's and don'ts we could talk about all morning, but that's a really interesting story. But you know what I take from that in a simple way? Because we have to make things simple. Because look, this is a massive subject, and you know, we can go into a little bit about CSR, corporate social responsibility, which is a driver for this, you know, because it does affect, it's not, but it kind of comes in, and it borders on, you know, then there's work. It does. It has an influence here, Nathaniel, right. Really. You know, I've noticed it, maybe not one that you would notice, but it has a kind of funny influence in a sense, because these practices are really being integrated as society moves forward. Okay. I mean, you know, it's about this political correctness is another one, which can be closely said.
Oh, we could talk about that.
Yes, but this is kind of the same branches of the same tree. Where does it start and where does it end, really? And it really is ongoing, right? So, you know, there's work etiquette. There's communication etiquette, there's email etiquette, there's dining etiquette. This all relates to business, you know, and it goes on and on and on, you know, and European international etiquette has a different definition and a different way of looking at it as we do in the UK. Yeah. You know, here it's more about social, you know, manners and environments and the way that relates to the workplace and stuff like that, pretty much here. Yeah. You know, give or take. In Europe and that, it's more about the comfort and about creating, relationships a lot more in Europe. Okay. It's about creating relationships a lot more, and it's more focused on, you know, having a comfortable environment for people in business. Right. So it's more static in a way here, but means the same. But you see, these slight translations in itself can cause confusion. Oh yeah. So really, for the layman or anyone who needs answers to this stuff in the practical light of day, you know, it's about being conscientious is the first and foremost thing. You know, being really respectful as a person of the world and conscientious and considerate to people when dealing with them.
But then there is the other side of the coin, right?
Yeah.
Which is we're in business, yeah, and we want to get stuff done, right? And we might be a manager in a business, we might be an employee, right at the bottom, yeah. Or we might be the CEO, but at the end of the day, it's difficult because we want to get stuff done, and we don't want to upset people, and it's really, really hard to write that email, yeah. As an example, yeah, like I'm working on my style with emails, because it's almost like you've got to write the email with no emotion and then add in a bit of fluffiness around the edges to make it a bit more friendly, instead of write the email in your normal polite manner, which you may have, just as an example, and be too polite that nothing gets done.
Yeah, look, that is really good, and I get that. But again, I mean, for me, really, I mean, the people close to me would say I have a really pragmatic style.
Okay.
Of getting straight to the heart of it, and I don't really care about certain things as long as our aims, our goals are noble, and I want it done. Okay. If you want to really, the problems, yes, we get that. Let's look at it and go straight to the solution. Yeah. And we're always guided by doing the right thing. Okay. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that, because we can all work on this until it's right. Yeah. You see, this is my clarity of vision, and I always lead from the front in that way. But this is, I'm a CEO, and I have to be very decisive in what I'm doing. Have a real clarity of purpose, and I have an unbelievable responsibility. But I didn't just arrive as that person. I've been forged as that person by falling down and getting up and doing all the, and by taking, one of the, there was a thing about CEOs, for instance, and there was an academic study, on CEOs by G. Smart, who, they studied 316 top executives. Okay. Pretty much in private equity. Yeah. So they looked at the characteristics of people like that as adverse to the successful ones versus the ones that were not so successful, and what was the difference between them. So it comes down to characteristics, and 7 showed more. There were 32 characteristics in this study. Yeah. 7 showed more distribution, right? There were persistence, persistence, work ethic, openness to criticism, flexibility. Yeah. You see, I can go on. There was certain stuff to that, but this is important when you think about etiquette, because there are different levels of management. I've got to be really honest. Yeah. For me, having come from the bottom all the way through different ranks to where I am, having an experience of that, sometimes where the real muddle happens is in the middle management. Yes. Okay. Because there's a different forces going on there and different pressures. You have managers who are unbelievably good at what they're doing. That's why they're there. But let's be honest, they're still learning to go straight up to the next thing. So they have a fiefdom of whatever, which just translates into a lot of responsibility. Okay. So they would have a different kind of set, in a way, of business kind of etiquette than someone else, although they wouldn't, but to them it would seem different, because it does change. It does change slightly. You see, someone say on the on the shop floor, they would just be under pressure to look. We have these targets, and as many as possible. Please get it done. Okay. We need to be hitting so much today. Or this is very serious. Yeah. So there's a lot of fear attached to that, because they have their job and stuff like that. So they will hit. They're under unbelievable pressure to hit them targets. Yeah. Now this will affect their business etiquette. There's no question about it. Of course, because the pressure is stressing them out, and they may send that email before they've thought about it. Exactly.
They may type it quickly. They might be brusque. Yeah. Exactly. And I've worked with some really brusque people. Yeah. Yeah. But at least you understand the fact that they don't have any manners. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of is what it is. But they are who they are. They are who they are. And there are a lot of top people are like that. They're just like, well, this is how it is. Just leave your emotions at the door, and we're going to get on with business, right? Yeah. And I struggle with that, because I've just always been used to a bit more of a friendly approach. Do you know what I mean?
You see, this is where this area is
Tough.
really a tough area, especially for businesses. You know, what they like to translate it to now, which is a good system, is our culture is. You know, our culture is where Facebook is great at it, Microsoft is great at it. In the
Microsoft
sense
is fantastic.
They just, you know,
Yeah.
Google's another one. You don't even need to go home because we
Right.
have the best and even better of everything you wanted here.
Right.
So you can be with the guys, you can work, you can even sleep here. You know, you can come and go as you want when you want.
Right.
We just want it done.
Yeah.
It's masterful.
Yeah.
So everything is there which is conducive to getting the work done to a high level. That's unbelievably masterful because we're dealing with human beings here. So they've been unbelievably insightful at taking away a lot of this stuff. They've
Yeah.
obviously done a lot of thinking on how to make this a lot more appropriate and conducive
Yeah.
to what needs to be done here. See, this is a different kind of innovative thinking.
Yeah.
You see, I must be honest as well, corporate structures, whether they're tall or whatever,
Yeah.
it can be, there are different ways the information and the communication is shared within them systems.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about, where a lot of the problems are. Because then you've got middle management, they have a different view. They have the people up the top really watching them. If they're not hitting it, of course,
Yeah.
you know, there's going to be repercussions to that.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is then they're passing that down. But of course, they want to go up. So
Yeah.
they're not as to the point, but they still have the same pressure. But these are people who are always looking to improve and get a little bit better.
Yeah.
So we could expect just a little bit more from them and their middle management. But then, look, you know, what I can say myself as being a CEO and mixing in these circles now for a long time and having a lot of experience of it, is for me, you know, and I work with unbelievably wonderful people.
Yeah.
And, you know, the truth of it is that when you've gone through the real blood, sweat and tears of all this stuff,
Yeah.
Nathaniel, really,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting at dinner, and I do it quite regularly, with people who are going to be potential partners of mine or who we're going to go into business with and really go into it with in every sense of the word. One of the main things I'm looking for is that we connect with people, you know, as people. And when I do that, because that can't be bluffed.
No.
I already know who they are, what their business is, and, you know, we're already well checked and well versed even before we're sitting at that table. But the real stuff that is is the stuff that makes us a family, because it's more than a family or a marriage when you go into a real heavy business relationship with people that is long-term.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, you know, they need to have a character that is right for you. And for me, I like really good people. I like pragmatic people. I like visionary people, innovative people. I like people who like to take risks. But ultimately, I like really, really, really decent people.
Yeah.
You can say, wow, that's a person. I love being with this person.
Got you.
You tick them boxes, and that's really something. So I hope that helps in some way.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's really, really super. Yeah. So there are also other things, aren't there, with etiquette? You know, I mean, it's sort of like it is a huge topic. It's like, you know, for example, if you go into a meeting, I don't know, at Oracle or IBM head office.
Yeah, there are rituals.
What are you going to wear?
Well,
you know, are you going to risk turning up in jeans for the first meeting? Probably not. You're going to wear a suit, aren't you? And it may be a warm day, but you're going to wear a suit because they've got aircon in there. That is part of business etiquette. Yeah, shaking hands when you first meet the person, looking at them in the eye, smiling,
not interrupting.
Yeah, well, I try not to, buddy.
Which can be a hard one.
It's not easy for me.
Listen, Nathaniel, obviously, you know, I mean, I really believe in accountability as a person and say, well, look, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, we're not perfect here, you know, but that is a real skill in itself.
Yeah.
And this is where lines can get muddled really easy, and you know, and people can. One of the problems with this, I think, is really, really unfortunate and does more harm than good to progress in people's lives and businesses, and you know, and so forth. Is there are always elements of people that will bring other factors into something that really is just a slight mistake.
Yeah.
Say that, but they will take it as a slight because there are other factors or maybe it's part of a design even, and they cause a lot of trouble over something that is not really there.
Got you.
You know, and they'll use that against people, which is really unethical.
Yeah.
I mean, we know this goes on,
Yeah.
and that is a real. So this is where these lines are. They're very strict in some companies for certain reasons.
Right.
Do you know? And it is very, very. You know, it's always pays to be safe.
Yes.
Be safe and let your character and the work do the talking.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's the advice. And, you know, if you're dealing with another, you know, because we're global as well, you know, I mean, I'm lucky I have people on my team, they're very international. So they've lived abroad, you know, but there are little nuances of cultural differences and ways of, say, eating or greeting people, or when we have a meeting, or how that would look like, and you know, how you would present something, and you know, when you would sign the paperwork, or how you would address someone. Now, do your research is the real. Talk to someone who's gone through that process. There's no one better, and they'll tell you, well, you know, I've done that, and what I found is, just be aware of, and that's a really easy one to. That's what I would definitely advise. If you're unsure, make sure that you know what you're doing. Check it.
I agree. I mean, if you go to Denmark, right, and it's your birthday, you're expected to pay. Did you know that? Which is
quite a thing. I didn't know that.
Imagine that, right?
Yeah. You keep away from Denmark.
Classic.
And it must be fun, right? It must be fun too.
Yes.
Because life is for living. Right?
Well, that's the thing. Is there's all this etiquette and stuff, but actually, if you connect with people in the right place at the right time in the right way, all that etiquette is kind of more personal, isn't it? It's more of a sort of. You either get on with people or you don't, right? And if you're not a people person, then you need to kind of
you need to become one.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, look, you know, I mean, in business, it's just a clear fact. Let's not go around the houses about it, but it's a clear fact. Interpersonal skills. I mean, interpersonal skills was one of the 7 attributes. I didn't finish it because we were speaking, but that was one of the attributes. Interpersonal skills. Right. You need to be good at communicating to people for obvious reasons. But you know, look, none of us are born with a full skill set of anything, right? You know, we all come into the world and, you know, it's a blank sheet. We're not a hot shot at anything. So it is about being prepared to learn stuff, you know. People like this, and they have a real easy time and go really further in business, really, because it's very key how we deal with people and are considerate towards them. Yeah, and active listening, not just like waiting to say the next thing as well. And that's the toughest. It's hard because you've got something so interesting and you know it's really interesting and you really want to say it, right? But actually, if you're not listening, you're almost disrespecting the person, but you can't help it because the brain always wants to talk, right? And it's a really interesting one. Sometimes, but look, here's the thing about that, you know, and it's really interesting because it's like any other skill which we integrate or we hope to improve on. Do you know, and they do say, look, you know, some of the best people, they will learn 60% of the time and they'll speak 40 is the thing for that, right? Is the guideline. No, but look, you know, I mean, you see, it's different jobs as well. For me, front of house, I do a lot with the media and, you know, and all of this stuff, and I'm front of house and I'm negotiating all the time, and, you know, that, you know, you have to have a certain way of getting this stuff through, right? So, you know, I get that. But when I look at my team and the people around me, the close people, and how unbelievably good they are at listening, I realise just how powerful that really is. Right. They get my attention just by their really engaging, really wonderful listening skills and intuition in that area. It's an unbelievably powerful tool. Yeah, very much so, very much so. Well, thank you. It's been really interesting. So how do people get hold of you if they want to find you and see what you're up to? Well, you know, I mean, we have different websites. One would be Shooting Stars Events, and that's www.shootingstarsevents.co.uk. You know, and the email is the same, but with hello@Shooting Stars. And, you know, there's lots of content online about me, Nathaniel.
Okay.
Lots of stuff, so people could go on there and have a look. And of course, if you want to get in contact with us, there are many ways to do that.
Okay, thanks very much. It's been fun.
Thank you, Nathaniel. It really has been fun. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe, and wherever you prefer, share with your friends. And if you enjoyed the show, drop us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen.